Many people work day and night to contribute towards this, and we are therefore delighted that the International Fact-Checking Network has found the time and accepted our invitation to speak to us this morning. Enock Nyariki is a community and impact manager at the IFCN and works to empower fact-checkers around the world who have signed up to IFCN's principles of non-partisanship and transparency. Enock is talking to us this morning from Nairobi. Enock, we're all ears.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for the chance to speak in this series. As you mentioned, I'm Enock Nyariki from the International Fact-Checking Network. And today I'm going to speak about hashtag Ukraine Facts, how fact-checkers are working together in the fight against misinformation around the conflict and fighting in Ukraine. So, a few details about myself. So, as I said, I'm the Community and Impact Manager at the International Fact-Checking Network, or in short, IFCN. I work to empower fact-checking organizations from around the world. There are more than 100 who have actually signed up to uphold the highest principles in fact-checking by signing up to IFCN's Code of Principles. I'm going to briefly talk about that. Currently, I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, but my colleagues are in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'll be joining them very, very soon. In my previous job, I used to be a fact checker. I was the leader of the largest indigenous fact-checking organization in Africa called PesaCheck, and I used to work to contain hoaxes, misleading claims around politics, health, and a few other topics that whose claims can actually lead to real world harm. So at IFCN, we are part of the Pointer Institute of Media Studies. We work with an advisory board and assessors who look at applications from organizations wishing to join our network. On Twitter, you can find me at Enock Nyariki. Let me go straight. So IFCN is actually, as I mentioned, a global fact-checking movement. It's the largest one that brings fact-checkers together who uphold the highest standards of fact-checking and fighting misinformation on significant topics. So the number of organizations that have are signatories to the IFCN Code of Principles are just more than 100. The last count stood at 102, according to the Duke Reporters Lab. But we have other organizations that actually look into claims. They fact-check false claims, half-truths, and lies who may or may not be signatories to the International Fact-Checking Network. So those organizations stand at around 341 as of last year, so October last year, and the number is growing as many in the journalism field realize that misinformation can actually lead to real world harm, and it needs to be contained fast. So IFCN, especially in the recent months, has seen a surge. Sometime in 2020, we had less than 70 verified signatories. At the moment, we are more than 100, and there are some that are getting their status renewed and new applications. Something I should mention is that once an organization has become a member of the network, at the end of every year, that status is renewed. So it's not something that you do once. At the end of every 12 months, assessors look and confirm whether you conform to the highest standards of principles, which I'm going to talk about very shortly. There we are. So what are some of those code of principles you've heard me mention? The ones that organizations in the network agree to uphold. The first one is a commitment to nonpartisanship and fairness. So fact-checking organizations are not supposed to be leaning on one side or the other, be it politics, on any issue. If there is any ties, that's declared way in advance. But no organization is supposed to be partisan in the way they do their work. They're also supposed to be fair. The second commitment is transparency of sources. So if a fact checker is investigating a claim, they have to demonstrate to you the sources, how they got the information, they reveal the sources. It's very rare to find on a fact check that doesn't have sources that they tell you these are the sources, and here is why they are relevant. And mostly, fact checkers rely on primary sources, not secondary sources, because you want to get to the one with the most authority to speak on a subject. The third commitment is transparency of funding and organization. So this information is also laid bare, who is behind the organization. If, for example, an organization is receiving funding from some entities and then you're supposed to fact check them, that's made clear. But usually, fact checkers publish their financial reports, they reveal who is supporting them. Another very important commitment is transparency of methodology. This now explains how they arrive at conclusions. How do they arrive at a conclusion that a claim is false or misleading or is partly true, let's say. They have to lay their methodology so that anyone else following the same process can arrive at the same conclusion. The last code of principle is an honest and open corrections policy. As we all know, no one is perfect. Once in a while, a mistake can be made. So in the case of fact-checking, once a mistake has been made, there's a commitment to openly correct that mistake, indicate where the initial post got things wrong or fact-check, and a correction made. But looking at all the measures put in place to make sure mistakes don't happen because you're fact checking, this actually doesn't happen a lot, but it's a good commitment. When they get fact checkers get things wrong, there is a willingness to openly correct them. So these are the code of principles that fact-checking organizations in our network agree to uphold in the way when they are doing their work. So in Ukraine, we have verified signatories. That's how we call, or the name we've given to fact-checkers in the network. We have two who have been in our network for quite some time. The first one is Stop Fake. You may have heard of it, especially since the invasion of Ukraine. So it's been around for quite some time. It was first launched in 2014. And has been dealing with Russian propaganda since. Journalists in the organization tell us that they have been working to debunk the false narratives around the reasons for the attack, the Russian attack on Ukraine, and those claims are now sort of gaining international prominence. So once an organization has become a verified signatory, like Stop Fake, which has been a member since 2020, this is the badge they are given for that year to show that they are members of the network. So if you want to go to their website to see the kind of claims they are working on, especially since the attack, since the false claims around the fighting in Ukraine started, go to stopfake.org, and then up here you can see the option of selecting language. But then we also have these options here. You can see some fact checks in English or in another language that you may be interested in, the ones they have given the option to pick from. So Stop Fake is one of the organizations that we've been that has been in our network and that has been dealing with the misinformation around the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We have a second one called Vox Ukraine. So this one was launched in 2014 and has been a member of the IFCN network since 2018. So it's one of the established members. It also has this badge showing that they are members of the network, and also does claims or fact checks in the local language and a few in English. You can check their website also and see the work that they do. So, as you may know, misinformation can be overwhelming for one group, for one organization or two. Let's say the situation in Ukraine right now. When the invasion happened just over 2 weeks ago, many in the fact-checking community knew that it was just a matter of time before we started seeing a lot of wild and misleading claims, falsehoods about the conflict. For long, you've heard of the Russian disinformation campaigns. So that was likely to spread because the experience from fighting coronavirus, and we had something called the Coronavirus Alliance, where fact checkers worldwide came together, collaborated to debunk claims around COVID, the wild claims that we were seeing around COVID-19, the vaccines. We knew that we were likely to see a lot of wild claims, not only being shared in Ukraine and in the neighboring countries, but all over the world, because many news organizations around the world are covering the conflict in Ukraine. They have given it a lot of prominence. So when false claims are made, let's say in local languages, if you are somewhere in South America, in Africa, and a claim is made in a local language on social media, then fact checkers in Ukraine might not see it, or might actually not be able to understand what it is because of the language barrier. So fact checkers came together. We actually met, we had a networking call at the end of February, just when this was about to start, and led by one of the organizations in the network called Maldita from Spain. We agreed to come together, support our colleagues in Ukraine, Fox Ukraine and Stop Fake, to debunk the claims around COVID that were spreading to other countries, which were detected from early in the days, just even before the war started. So we created something called Ukraine Facts to try and debunk claims, where organizations now come together, share information around claims they have fact-checked. If you are looking for sources, if you want to find out if anyone else has seen a certain claim, this was the initiative under which information was being shared. Very briefly, I'm going to show you a map showing some of those, how it looks, because the aim of this initiative was to show how misinformation was being detected in other countries. Let's say a false claim has started in Moldova or Romania or in Ukraine, and then it's quickly spreading to Brazil, India, Nigeria. You can clearly see how that claim is, how the disinformation is spreading, and the organizations, the fact-checking organizations that have actually looked into the falsehoods in that and provided fact checks. So for about 2 weeks since this initiative was launched, more than 1,400 false claims about the war in Ukraine have been debunked, and close to 600 fact checks or claims have actually been investigated by more than 2 organizations. So it's a lot. It's a lot given the speed of doing even one fact check to get this done. It's quite unprecedented when compared to the fight against misinformation around COVID. So let me just show you one of the platforms that has been very helpful for the fact-checking community to collaborate, to work together, is the use of Slack. We have our own channels, but when the joint efforts to fight false information around COVID started, we decided to create a channel where fact checkers could exchange information about what they were working on. We called it hashtag Ukraine. We have more than 100 members in it where they exchange information. If you're asking about certain things, you're looking for sources. Let's say you want to find out the language in which a claim is made. Let's say you're fact checking from Ghana, and then you see a post being shared in the country. Maybe it's in Russian. You're not so sure. This is where fact checkers who are exchanging information. And something else that I admire about the fact checking community is the collaboration. The enemy is false information. So there's no like competition. It's not like fact checkers can't collaborate. So when we have an issue like misinformation around the war, fact checkers come together, they help each other. There's no caring on who is going to benefit the most, who is going to publish fast. No, it's all about collaboration and getting things right in the fight against misinformation. So through this hashtag and our listservs, fact checkers have been sharing information, and this has led to the first actions of debunking the false claims around the war, around the conflict. The very first thing actually that fact checkers did when this happened was the creation of a collaborative spreadsheet. So this is where fact checkers fill the information on claims they are working on, claims they have investigated and produced fact checks on. And then this information is picked from here to the website, ukrainefacts.org. Yeah, it's just given you a little bit of what it looks like. There's a lot of private information, so that's why it's not yet open publicly, but this is how it looks, and this is where fact checkers are working behind the scenes to produce the fact checks that you can see in the public platform. And this is how the site looks like, Ukraine Facts. You can see the map. Like in this case, I picked, I think, on this image, which is being shared allegedly of first Ukrainian female fighter pilot, and she's not. So it's a claim that has been debunked, for example, in the United States, more than 49 times. So it's really going wild, and a lot of fact checkers have looked into it and debunked that. So in this section, you can see so many claims by scrolling down when you go to the website. And as I said, this site was developed by one of the members in the network called Maldita. So when you have time, because we don't have a lot of time, you can explore, look at the claims that are being circulated in each country. You can see, once you click on any claim, you can see where it's been detected and the fact checkers who have looked at it. Yeah, so that's a brief summary of what fact checkers in the network have been working on. There's a lot more, obviously. So if you want to connect, if you are working on fact checking, anything around fact checking, an initiative to try and combat misinformation about the conflict, about the fighting in Ukraine, please reach out to me at enock@pointer.org, or you can connect with me on Twitter, and I'll be happy to set up a call with you, have discuss more, and collaborate in the fight against false information. Because as one of the things that our colleagues in Ukraine have told us, who have been fighting false information for quite some time, it can be used as a weapon of war, like laying the groundwork, preparing the population to buy into certain false narratives. And then at the end of the day, when the attack happens, they're fully on board. And that can lead to really bad consequences. So the fight against false information, against disinformation, is very, very important. And especially in a time of war, working together, collaborating is super, super, super important. Yeah, so I look forward to anyone connecting with me if you are in this fight against false information. Thank you so much, Christopher.